The story starts with a chaotic scene. Heavy rain exposes a battlefield surrounded by bright red roses, like the blood staining the area. A prince walked through this war-torn place, heading toward the crucial point of the invading castle. He easily defeated every enemy in his path until he reached a corridor guarded by 4 soldiers. Among them, there was a woman disguised as a man, serving in the kingdom's military. The guards were waiting for the bell to toll, signaling that the castle's prince had escaped. However, Emperor Arnold Hain of Galkine arrived before that moment. He was the one who started the war and wouldn't spare the woman and her comrades until he achieved his goal. The emperor slowly approached the enemy troops, and despite their anxiety, they bravely faced Arnold. However, just as effortlessly as before, he defeated them one by one until only the woman remained. Arnold broke the woman's sword, and in a final attempt, she tried to strike him just as the bell rang. Instead of a sign of hope, the tolling of the bell became the backdrop to the woman's death. Missing her strike, she fell victim to Arnold's blade, her life slipping away. In her last moments, she accepted her life without succumbing to pain, knowing that in her next attempt, she might avoid such suffering. After her essence merged with the infinite ocean of existence, Rishemgard Wurtzner found herself facing Prince Dietrich once again. She was pledged to marry him, but he was publicly humiliating her, calling her a schemer undeserving of someone of his class. He annulled the marriage before the crowd, but Rish remained unfazed, accepting her fate calmly. This angered the prince, but Rish had lived through this scene many times before and was no longer affected by baseless insults from a spoiled individual like him. However, she remembered a time when she wasn't as mature. The first time her fiancé broke up with her in front of the kingdom's nobles, she felt embarrassed in front of Prince Dietrich. She was accused of various crimes in front of everyone and banished from the realm forever. On that same night, her parents, who were part of the Wurtzner family of dukes sworn to the crown, couldn't forgive their daughter's betrayal. So, in addition to being kicked out of the kingdom, she also had to face rejection from her own family. She wandered aimlessly, with only the clothes on her back, through the dark and lonely night. She walked away from the extravagant wealth of the bourgeoisie, where she had spent her entire life. Eventually, she stumbled upon a group of traveling merchants on their way to the next country for their expedition. The leader of the group was a kind-hearted man who decided to invite the lost girl to travel with his comrades. One of the companions wondered if it was a good idea, as beautiful women like her could be more trouble than the cargo they were used to carrying. Although amused, the leader, Tully, was more intrigued by the girl's silk dress, which shimmered brightly even under the moonlight. With his sharp wit, he deduced that she must be from Viscola, a sign of royalty or nobility. He made a sarcastic comment about how a noble like her shouldn't be on the dirty ground near the castle. Instead of being bothered by the taunt, she regained her composure and offered to sell a precious ring to the merchants. This audacious move brought a spontaneous smile to Tully's face, and soon, Rishi found herself inside the caravan with the merchant. As they sipped sake, they talked about their passion for their work, how they cherished the goods that ignited their hearts and could evoke the same feeling in buyers. It was this deep connection that gave the merchant's name a good reputation and ensured their business made a profit. According to the leader, this was the motto of the area trading company. These stories sparked a fire in young Rishi's eyes. No longer bound to the fate of serving egocentric princes as a luxury servant, she decided to begin a new chapter in her life by joining the traveling traders and becoming a merchant. Under Chief Tully's guidance, she learned all there was to know about trade. She embarked on a journey across the world, driven by her newfound dream of visiting every country. However, just as she was about to check off the last nation on her list, she found herself caught in a war and lost her life. In that moment, her mysterious ability to reset her life transported her back to the exact moment when Prince Dietrich annulled their marriage. This was only the first time she had been reborn. Bewildered, she recognized the same dress and ring she wore on that fateful day. At first, she thought it was a dream. But when she pinched herself and felt the pain, she realized she was facing exile from the kingdom once again. As her fiancé repeated his arrogant speech, she turned away without uttering a word. Even though she didn't understand how, she silently thanked the heavens for this second chance at life and embarked on a new adventure. Her only regret was not being able to carry more resources in her suitcase, which would have accelerated her journey. She attempted to locate Tully and his comrades, but arrived at the same place as in her previous life, only to find that the caravan of the trading company had already departed. Despondent, she rummaged through her belongings, hoping to find some sign of destiny that would guide her in this new life. Eventually, she discovered a gift her grandmother had left her long ago, an illustrated book of foreign medicinal plants. Unlike her first life, Rishi now had the means and the time to return to her quarters. She used everything she could sell to cross the sea and study medicine. In her new pursuit, she delved deep into the knowledge of medicinal herbs, combining it with the business acumen she had gained in her previous life on Earth. Rishi became a successful healer, sought after to treat members of the high courts in distant realms, including Prince Kyle from a country in the far north. However, just like the first time, she found herself ensnared in another war and lost her life again. Yet, with each rebirth, Rishi's maturity continued to evolve, layer by layer, as she returned once more to the moment of her exile by Dietrich. Rishi, filled with disdain, bids farewell and embarks on her new journey with determination and careful planning. In her second life, she immerses herself in the study of a specialized field and becomes acquainted with a brilliant scholar, Dr. Michael Evans. When they meet, Rishi realizes that she knows Dr. Evans from her previous life. The two scholars collaborate on important research projects, and Rishi gains a fresh perspective on the past through their dedicated work together. With this newfound knowledge, she eventually parts ways with her mentor and continues her research independently. However, once again, her life is cut short by war, marking her third death. In her fourth reincarnation, she serves as a maid in a duke's mansion. And in the sixth, she disguises herself as a man and becomes a knight, participating in numerous battles. Throughout each of her lives, Rishi finds fulfillment and motivation in seeking new experiences and knowledge. However, no matter the circumstances, she consistently faces death every 5 years, whether by the blade of a sword in a brutal conflict or from the toll of excessive work. Determined to break this cycle and ensure a long and prosperous life, Rishi decides to change her routine. She alters her route from the palace to the street, hoping to change the course of her destiny. Instead of leaving through the main entrance, she opts for a different path that takes her behind the mansion. However, on her way, she encounters a man who sends chills down her spine. It's Emperor Arnold Hine. When she hears his full name and noble title, she finds it odd that he is known in lands he has never visited. To conceal the fact that she has already been killed by this man, she responds by saying that Arnold's reputation precedes him, and some inhabitants of the kingdom are aware of who he is. Despite this, Rishi was unaware that Arnold's father was still alive, which meant that Arnold was only the heir to his lineage, not yet the ruler. She couldn't come up with a convincing excuse quickly enough, so she decides to apologize for the inconvenience and bids farewell to the noble. She takes off her shoes and jumps from the second-floor balcony, but luckily, she escapes serious harm from the fall and gets up without major issues. She breaks the heels of her sandals in the process and prepares for a long walk ahead. Arnold, who observed everything, becomes enchanted and curious about this eccentric maiden. He immediately orders a servant to prepare his horse. Meanwhile, Rishi, who is lost on her way, encounters some guards who alert Prince Dietrich about the girl's presence. The heir approaches, feigning importance and claiming that he understands the maiden's discomfort at hearing him condemn her so harshly. But as the future king, he sees it as his duty not to taint his family's lineage with the presence of a deceitful bride like her. Amidst this confrontation, Rishi puts her hand on her head and laments that she has placed herself in one of the worst situations in all her reincarnations. However, this action elicits an expected reaction from the egocentric prince, who interprets it as a sign that the girl has been broken by his decision. And her heart is so wounded that she has lost her sanity, wandering aimlessly through the city streets. This pushes Rishi to her limit, and she responds by calling the prince a fool and stating that sorrow is not something that can stain one's clothes, but rather the path one walks in life. She emphasizes that she is not saddened by the broken engagement. Her serious and direct demeanor leaves the prince in despair, causing his mask to slip as he realizes that Rishi has no consideration for him. This revelation makes those around them notice that it is Dietrich, not Rishi, who is being rebuked. Hearing this, the prince turns to his subjects in a fit of rage, demanding respect. However, Rishi calmly interrupts and reminds him that his role is to uplift the people, not to treat them however he pleases. She goes further, emphasizing that Dietrich is doing her a favor by allowing her not to have to look at his face ever again. Just as she is about to deliver the final blow, a young maiden named Marie intervenes, taking Dietrich's side and telling Rishi to stop bothering the beloved Prince Dietrich. With this, the prince becomes more determined to continue his little show. He points his finger at Rishi and claims that he could never get involved with a woman who disturbs a perfect maiden like Marie. However, Rishi doesn't back down and reaffirms her commitment to fulfilling the annulment agreement. She makes it clear that she will never cross paths with the prince again, but she wants everyone to know that it doesn't bother her at all. She used to think her worth was only tied to the chance of marrying a prince, but life has taught her that true fulfillment comes from her own achievements and efforts. Rishi also mentions that, despite any lies Marie may have told to incriminate her, she holds no anger towards the girl. She understands that Marie schemed all of this to marry the heir to the throne. However, she emphasizes that since this future was not even desired by herself, it holds no meaning for her. She acknowledges that sometimes it's necessary to yield to family wishes, but she believes that taking actions on her own is essential to feel complete as an individual. Having achieved her goals, she leaves the room. Dietrich follows her, ordering his guards to apprehend her. In a surprising move, she grabs her ex-fiancé's sword and attacks a man she perceives as a threat right in front of her. This man turns out to be Arnold once again, and he questions where she learned to do such things. The surrounding population is filled with fear and apprehension, as Arnold is known to be capable of decimating entire battalions without assistance. Rishi knows that her 6th reincarnation ended at the hands of this man, and that he will one day cause a world-spanning war, ultimately leading to her death. However, Arnold surprises everyone by dispelling his reputation as an ill omen. He kneels before Rishi and apologizes for his rudeness upon arrival. He asks Rishi for the honor of making her his wife. This brings an end to our episode, but don't feel bad as we will be back with the new episode next week. Till then, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.